This is the Padua Podcast Network.
Are painful. Somebody's cutting on you, you know? That's painful. The body has to do something about that in order to keep you from going into shock and dying. Running a Fever, episode 150. Are endorphins addictive? Welcome to the show. Michael Davis here. Back on the trail. It's a beautiful day. Kind of looks different to me. The light is different, and I think that may be because I'm not usually out this time of day. It's like 9:30 in the morning. Very unusual time for me to be out walking around. But it's good to be back out here. I'm gonna try to take a full circuit of the Lake Fayetteville Park route today. For the first time since my ankle injury. Ankle's feeling pretty good right now, and still kind of stiff mornings when I've been sitting for a long time. So I think the key is to just keep moving, and that seems to be working so far. I have done some hiking, and there's going to be an episode coming out in the next few weeks that I recorded at Mountain Nebo State Park, complete with some pretty amazing video. Very beautiful place. But today, I'm starting a 5-part series that actually it's more like a 6-part series because it goes back to episode 139. Episode 139, when I first discussed 4 brain chemicals that sort of control, regulate, or affect some of our body's processes, and some very important ones. And I promised at that time that I would, or suggested that I would go into detail on the individual chemicals discussed. And there were 4 main ones and an additional sort of bonus chemical. So anyway, it came out to be 5, and this is going to be the first of 5 more episodes going into detail on these various chemicals. And the first one I wanted to talk about was endorphins. Kind of appropriate since they're mainly associated with exercise. I mean, that's what people think of. It's the runner's high, you know. It's the drug of running. So, how do you define endorphins? Well, all these chemicals are hormones, and they are neurotransmitters. And they're basically like if your nervous system is an interstate highway system, neurotransmitters are like the trucks that carry things along these highway systems, delivering them to various parts of your nervous system to make things happen that are supposed to happen. So endorphins are defined as any group of hormones secreted within the brain and nervous system and having a number of physiological functions. They are peptides, which activate the body's opiate receptors, causing an analgesic effect. What does that mean? It means it gets you high. It makes you feel good. It gives you a feeling of euphoria, and helps reduce pain, or reduce the perception of pain. These chemicals work inside the nervous system And they work a lot like opiates, morphine, cocaine. I mean, they act and interact with the same receptors in our cells that react to these drugs. According to a couple of articles I read, endorphins are not addictive, actually, like the opiates. But I'm not so sure. And I found out that my unsureism is, my reservations about that are backed up by some scientific research. Exercise addiction is listed as a disease, as a disorder in the DSM, which is the sort of official list of psychological disorders. So exercise addiction is a real thing. It doesn't say specifically endorphin addiction, but you got to think that those two are tied together because of, the fact that endorphin is, aside from the fact that it's made within your own body, is a drug, basically. So how do you know if you're addicted to exercise? Well, addiction has a pathology, and I've described myself as a fitness nut, and so that kind of indicates that I have some sort of psychological disorder associated with my desire for exercise. But let's look at the official definition of exercise addiction. It's characterized by 4 characteristics or indicators. Number 1, tolerance. You need more and more exercise to get the same effect or pleasure that you did. So you have to, run more miles, cycle more miles, lift more weight, whatever it is, to get that same effect. Number 2, withdrawal. You have to miss a workout and you just kind of freak out. Oh no, what am I going to do? I don't know. I miss when I'm not able to work out, but I wouldn't say that I really go crazy about it. I'm just like, well, I really would have rather worked out today instead of not working out. But it's really not, I don't think, that intense. Maybe I'm just not right. Maybe I'm in denial about my addiction to exercise. Anyway, that's kind of how I feel. Number 3, intention effects. You cancel, other parts of your life suffer basically because of your addiction to exercise. You cancel dinner with friends just so you can work out. Things like that. I don't know. It's a lot of these things are kind of subjective, and I think they probably do. Is you go into the psychologist's office and they ask you these questions. Have you ever canceled dinner so you can work out? Lack of control. You couldn't skip a workout even if you wanted to. Again, it's kind of subjective. Once you make something a habit, it really is almost automatic. I talk about take advantage of this aspect of habit. And I think of the correlation with, let's compare this to alcohol, for example. A guy who really doesn't want to take a drink. He's been through the ringer, been drunk so many times, never turns out well. He doesn't want to take a drink, but he has to anyway. He's driven to do it. I'm on this bridge. Is it Copper Creek? I think it's the Copper Creek Bridge. Just weird, kind of bouncing feeling as I'm walking along. It's not like I'm stomping across it, but it seems to be moving. It's kind of weird. I'm glad to get away from that. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to think of exercise addiction in the same terms because exercise is good for you. And I suppose, yeah, you can overdo it just like you can overdo anything. But it's just kind of hard to think of it in that terms. But yeah, there's an actual disorder called exercise addiction. I mean, you know, I think these are people that are having extreme, I think with any addiction, you know, here's the thing. If it's negatively impacting your life, and the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous is admitting you have a problem with alcohol. And there's another part to it that says, our lives had become unmanageable. So there you have it. I mean, if it's really messing up your life, you know, if your relationships with people are suffering, if it's affecting your finances, I don't know, you're skipping work, you're quitting jobs so that you have more time to exercise when you need the job to survive, things like that. You know, it's affecting your family life negatively. I think that's what you really need to look at. But I'm not a professional, nor do I give professional advice. I don't know why I need to make that caveat. What are they going to do? Arrest me for doing a podcast on psychological issues? That would be great. More publicity. Not really. Don't really want to be arrested. So yeah, that's my theory on that. So speaking of opiates, there's an interesting article in the Hawaii Journal of Medicine discussing how taking opiates reduces the release of endorphins and can actually cause more sensitivity to pain when you stop taking them. This guy, I mean, this was there's a link in the show notes and everywhere. runningfever.com/150 for the show notes. runningfever.com/150. Check out the YouTube. There'll be a link to the YouTube video from there. Anywhere you go to get the podcast. And take a look at this article because it's interesting. You know, when you're out, you're under general anesthesia and you're getting surgery. Things that your body knows are painful. Somebody's cutting on you, you know? That's painful. The body has to do something about that in order to keep you from going into shock and dying. So it produces endorphins. But when you take opioids, like I think fentanyl is the one that they used in this study, the body stops producing those endorphins. So I mean, you got to think there's a natural process here. And when you go to narcotics, you're interfering with that process. You're trying to circumvent it, and it could have some really bad effects. So, avoid opiates if you can. They're really just going to make things worse. But on a positive note, studies show that regular exercise correlates to lower rates of depression, anxiety, improves sleep, reduces stress, and boosts self-esteem. There are 20 different types of endorphins. We continue to discover human body is an amazing thing. Far more than a machine. But in comparison to other machines, fantastic. 20 different types of endorphins, but you don't even have to exercise. You don't even have to exercise to get that endorphin drip turned on. So here's some other ways you can get the drug. Number 1, eat peppers. Yeah, spicier they are, the more endorphins are released. That's why people like peppers. Eat chocolate. That's the reason why we like chocolate so much. It's awesome and releases those endorphins, especially when we're stressed. We really like chocolate. Number 3, have sex. You might consider that exercise. I don't know. Number 4, meditate. Number 5, get acupuncture. And number 6, get massage. Probably others. And a list here, but these are the ones I found. I do want to make a caveat though. Go get some endorphins, but be aware that you could be addicted. So it is maybe something to think about, but only if you're really having some negative impact of that. A caveat that I want to make with all of these is, with every chemical, I'm going to list some ways that you could potentially boost this chemical in your system and get the effects of it. I'm not advocating that you do this, that, I need all of these chemicals and I need more of them. This is, like everything I do, it's a way to get more knowledge about how our body works. And by doing so, to help us to live a healthier, happier, more active life right up to the very end. That's what Running Fever is all about. So, if you got the fever, keep it. If you don't have it, go get it. And I'll talk to you next time. Running a Fever.